Hi everybody, I'm Laura.
Hi everyone, I'm Katie. Welcome to our podcast.
Sisters across the pond. Ooh. So first of all, welcome and thank you for listening or watching. Just please know that whatever we speak about comes from a grounded, just and a loving place of kindness.
And with that being said, let's just take a moment to pause. Take a deep breath in. Relax the shoulders. Release the breath. And just be.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. I needed that actually.
Me too. Ooh. I never realised how much I need it until I do it. Isn't that just life?
I know. So episode number 8.
That is true. Too early for menopause. The real hard-hitting stuff.
Mark. Yeah.
Question mark.
So we thought we'd talk about
too early for menopause.
That's better. Yeah, because it's a question. It's a question that well, both of us are really eager to talk about. We're kind of like the blind leading the blind with this topic of conversation.
Absolutely.
Which I think is probably a good starting point because in our youthful ish,
I'm very youthful. My brain age and my body age are two very different things.
Oh, most definitely. Me too. But we've decided, because we're going to have a guest on, and we're going to dig really deep into menopause with her. So we just thought we'd kind of visit this topic from our own perspective just now, because it is a topic that is discussed.
Ish. It's a weird one. It is discussed in our family, I must say, just because there's been different issues with like menstruation, hysterectomies, precancerous cells, and going for smear tests and pap smears, as they are referred to here. So some of that stuff is pretty much talked about, but not really in an educational, like, this is what it means. It's mostly like surface, hot flashes, or, things like that. So,
and like symptoms and things like that, and it's one of those, do I dare say it, taboo subjects, because people just don't. I imagine, I sit with a couple of girlfriends, and I chat with a couple of my girlfriends about menopause, and, people who are going through it.
Okay.
That's who I talk to about menopause, but not the people who aren't going through it yet, or struggling with life, or wondering what the hell is going on. Because really, they're some of the symptoms, aren't they?
Yeah. And I also think that there's something in knowing your own body and knowing when there's changes. And this is something I'm going through and have been going through now for the last 12 months, is that I know that something has shifted in my body and I'm not sure what it is. And I've been to the doctors a couple of times. I've had a couple of different tests, and the tests are coming back fine, but things still aren't the usual for me. And so I'm kind of like, is this me? Am I on that path now towards menopause? Am I starting perimenopause?
Yeah.
So it's and obviously that does kind of run in the family. There is a few different females in our family who have experienced perimenopause in
there is definitely
30s and early 40s. And I think a lot of women don't realize that you can start perimenopause before your mid to late 40s, before your 50s. Like I think a lot of women think that it's not going to happen until much, much later on.
I think what it is, as you said just a minute ago, your mental age and your physical age are two different things. I think the majority of people work like that. Everybody has this like this mental age of just feeling younger, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and that's great. That's what makes us who we are and able to do things, you know. But I also think that sometimes because we do maybe are a little bit more youthful in our thoughts, that we don't realize how close to that menopausal age we may be.
Yeah.
Do you know? And you could probably just be like, whoosh, put up that barrier, put up that wall. No. And as well, embarrassment. You know, are people embarrassed? Are women embarrassed about this? Probably because it's a subject that you don't speak about.
Yeah, we don't really speak about it because, you know, I suppose what's the value in it? In the sense that what's a woman's worth? That sounds really cheesy, but you know, and a lot of us don't really want to think about the potential of us being a bit dried up and useless.
I just thought of a prune.
For want of a better term, because that's pretty much how menopause is sold to us in society, is that once a woman's past her childbearing years, then, well, there's no hope. You just kind of dried up, life over, shop shut.
Wow. Shut us down.
Yeah, shut us down. No more. And that's not necessarily the case, because I think for a lot of women, they actually feel a sense of liberation and some sense of freedom, reclaiming a part of their life that they hadn't put into use for a while, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's it. I mean, we don't know, do we? I mean, I've been doing a little bit of like digging around and trying to find out some information, and just been hit by ridiculous facts and statistics, and which has just basically left me like, at some points I've gone,
jaw drop.
Yeah. And especially it's funny because I was speaking to Janine, which is our lovely cousin, who's going to come on and speak about the menopause. Very excited about that. And she was saying, especially just now in this crazy world that we've been living in for the past 12 months, you know, it's probably very common for a group of, you know, 40-year-olds, you know, I'm just putting that out there. You know, I'm just talking about a group of women who go out and have a glass of wine together over a meal and would talk about the menopause, you know, close-knit friends who can talk about all these close things about that's going on with their own selves and their own bodies. I mean, it's not just a physical thing.
No,
it isn't. There's everything that goes. It's, you know, it's mental, it's emotional, it comes at you from all angles. Not that I've experienced any of it, but just things that I'm read and listen, and, you know, because I have done a bit of digging about.
Yeah, let me know some of the stats, because I've not done any of that digging about. I know that's more of you.
Let me
hit me with the stats. Just to bear in mind that I'm guessing these stats are UK stats.
These are UK stats, and this is from menopause support group. So maybe we should have got in touch with them before we start putting it out. But I don't think if it's a support group, I think that they need to be as much airing as they possibly can. So
Sure,
maybe we'll get
we'll
in touch with
mention
them
them.
after and just say we've mentioned you on our podcast. But it was Nuffield Health Centre, which is well known in the UK. They've got centres all over the place, and they did a load of digging about, finding out facts and statistics and things like that. But this is some of the facts that they uncovered. So we've got approximately 13 million women in the UK are either peri or post-menopausal. That's a lot.
That is a
isn't
lot.
It?
What's the about 66 million people in the UK?
Yeah.
Wow.
And another one is that symptoms can last up to 15 years. So we're not even talking like it's I'm gonna get through this in the next. I've got my menopause. It's gonna last 6 weeks. Do you know, 15 years? Wow. I mean, that's up to, obviously, it doesn't mean that everybody's menopause is going to last that long.
But no, but if that,
on the off,
oh,
that was a very loud motorcycle.
That was a loud motorcycle.
Yeah.
15 years. That's
I know,
quite a length of time.
Yeah, and check this. Over 60% of women experience symptoms resulting in behaviour changes.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Somehow,
I mean, it makes perfect sense because it's all your hormones.
Yeah, and this is funny because this has come up with me just recently.
Your PMS.
Well, no, because my my periods have been completely and utterly erratic. I mean, I had a miscarriage 5 years ago, and then since then, they've just been completely and utterly erratic. But I've probably noticed in the last couple of months that I'm getting a bit of a short fuse. But so I'm just thinking, is this the start of the menopause for me? Or am I too young? Am I just going to get the stressed? Yeah, that's another one that's coming to it all, because obviously, as you know,
what we're going on.
Regular listeners know that I've just moved house, and with the COVID homeschooling, I've got lots of issues with the schooling education system over here with my little boy. I've got all that. There's lots and lots of things. Buying a new house as well. We're just in the process of buying a new house.
Not to mention a global pandemic, and all that kind of stuff that's going on.
Starting up a new business. Yeah, all these things going on just now.
So you've noticed that you've got a pretty short fuse.
Yeah, so it's not like it's not. I just feel like I can say something and think, hold on a minute. Why did I just react to that? Okay. Yeah, it's more like reacting to.
And so this reminds me a little bit, because before our lovely little Leo came into the world, you did used to suffer quite a lot with PMS, premenstrual stress, PMT, premenstrual tension, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I always remember that you would say that at times it felt like you were almost floating above yourself.
Yeah.
Watching
it's like
yourself.
An out-of-body experience.
Yeah. And you'd watch yourself be awful. Whether you said something, just the behavior you displayed, and you were like, why have I just done that? So is it a similar kind of feeling that you're experiencing now? No. Just a short snap.
Yeah. And guilt then, immediately, guilt. Where I didn't really have that guilt when I had PMS, PMT. It was because I think that was the kind of state of mind that I was in, even though I was looking upon myself going, what are you saying? The words that were coming out of my mouth. Yeah. The words that were coming out of my mouth still were like, I'm due on, all right. Do you know? And
So you were able to justify it?
Yeah, we're able to justify it. Okay. And I could never stop the words coming out of my mouth. I couldn't control that.
But you had an understanding of the reason why it was happening.
Yeah.
So you weren't as harsh on yourself.
Questioning. Yeah. Where now I'm questioning, why am I being, you know, and I do sit with myself and see on my yoga teacher training, there was like, it's all about meditating and connecting with yourself and sitting. And I do try and still meditate daily. Even if that's just 5 minutes, just silently, just sitting by myself with my eyes closed. Sometimes I do it in the shower because that's probably the only time that I've got, but it's still, I'm trying to clear my mind, just relaxing, trying to take stock and, you know, and these things just pop up every time I find that I'm meditating. I'm like, why am I being a little bit short-fused just now? But then coming back to the
stats,
statistics, yeah, we've got oh, this is really sad as well. 1 in 4 women will experience severe debilitating symptoms.
And now, and by debilitating, like, I wonder what kind of symptoms they are. It probably doesn't go straight down into it, but imagine it could be a range of things.
But that's one that I'm going to explore.
Right.
I'm going to explore and see if I can find out some more information about that. And then, or maybe Janine will probably be able to elaborate a little bit more on that topic.
Maybe.
We'll probably keep that as a question for her as well. It says almost half of menopausal women say they feel depressed.
And that's understandable because, it's completely understandable because who do you talk about? Like, who do you talk about it with? And also, if there's a hormone imbalance and you are feeling down and you don't understand why, because life is seemingly going okay, that can be a really hard adjustment. If like what's going on physically, intellectually in life makes sense, everything's going hunky-dory, yet emotionally and hormonally it's like tanked, then to try and balance those two things out would create a mass amount of confusion and understandably lead into a deeper kind of depression or anxiety.
Well, that's it. 1/3 of women say they suffer with anxiety.
Yeah.
I think that's
and especially if you, like, for example, you right now with your with you having a short fuse, that's going to lead to anxiety because now you're waiting for this to happen and you don't want it to happen. So you're trying to put things into place to prevent it from happening, but you don't really know what's triggering it. And it's like, whoa, spiraling out of control.
But just now as well, Katie, we're in this global pandemic. So there's lots of anxiety flying around everywhere. So, you know,
fear.
Are there some women who have this pent up anxious feelings running through their bodies, and it could be menopausal?
Yeah. Because this is one of the things that I'm experiencing. I said my periods have been all over the place for the last 12 months. Like, I'll have a 3-week long period and then I'll have nothing for 2 months. And then it might be that I just spot for a day or two and then nothing for 6 weeks. And then I'm having like a full on like heavy flow day and then nothing. And then another 3. And it's been this weird roller coaster that I know it's different for my body. I know it's not right, but it's like we're in a global pandemic. There was a time I was laid off work and then I was back at work and then I've been super busy and then I've not, and it's just been this strange time. So it's like, could it be perimenopause because it exists in our family? Could it just be stress? And all the tests that I've been for, I've had a couple blood tests and ultrasounds just to kind of check everything out, pap smears, and everything comes back fine. So what is it? Like, you know? And then there's a part of me that does wonder, because obviously with miscarriage being so, well, we don't really know how often women miscarry, like in very, very early stage. Like I do know that there's some stats out there that, but that's only the miscarriages that we can actually identify as a miscarriage. So how many women go through a miscarriage without being aware of it, and then their periods are completely erratic afterwards, and we don't understand? You know, I'm also wondering if that's a potential option for me. You know, has my body gone through a miscarriage and now it's just trying to make sense of what's going on inside my body?
Well, yeah, it's hard to keep track, isn't it? Especially when you start becoming a little bit erratic, and
it doesn't exactly work wonders for the old sex life either if your body is super unpredictable. So then you've got all these poor husbands and wives out there who, or wives and wives, you know, that,
you know, that could be double trouble, couldn't it?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Same sex, like females going through menopause.
At least they'll have each other to talk to.
True.
Support.
If that's how it works, that would be nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
but
so
what else have we come across? Some more stats for you. Women commonly complain of feeling as though they are going mad.
I can understand that.
How
I can understand
scary.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Approximately 2/3 of women say there is a general lack of support and understanding. There we go.
Because it's not really spoken about, you know, it really isn't. I try. I've kind of made it one of my missions in life to be quite open and honest about my periods and my experience around whoever, like, because I do feel like it does need to be something that's spoken about openly and not shamed for.
And males need to know a lot more about this subject as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a closed circle or closed group for women. I think there should be menopause support groups for men.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they're living, if it's a male and female relationship, partnership, marriage, whatever, the males go through the whole menopause. And if these symptoms last 15 years with somebody, then not only do the women need support, but so do the men.
Well, I remember reading something a few years ago, quite a few years ago, so I don't know what the stats would be like these days or how true it is now, but a lot of women, after they have like a hysterectomy, feel such a personality change that it was not uncommon for them to divorce post hysterectomy. And I always thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
Because it's just something that, I've never had to face that. I've never thought, oh, I need to have all my bits and pieces removed. But that's a big change for females. Like, it really is a part of our identity.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because our worth, to a certain extent, is still based on, you know, the life that we can produce. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, very. What have we got here now? We've got some more about HRT. Just the not knowing about HRT. I don't know anything about HRT. Yeah. I hear the word and I hear people like talking about it, but other than that,
Yeah, so what, hormone replacement therapy. So it kind of makes in to someone who knows nothing about it, me, in my head, I'm like, okay, so hormone replacement therapy, very basic understanding. It gives us back some of the hormones that we are now losing through menopause.
Yeah.
And again, this is probably super old information because I've not had to think about it. But I seem to remember it being helpful with bone health. And that's something I'm going to go away and look at. But I seem to remember that when we stop producing certain hormones, then our bones can get weaker. And so HRT was useful to maintain bone health and prevent things like osteoarthritis and osteoporosis. However, on the flip side, and I suppose just like the birth control pill, it can increase the risk of certain female cancers, like breast cancer and things. But again, I think that's really old information that I've just pulled out of somewhere in here.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
but how true that is in this day and age, I don't know.
Yeah, and if any of our listeners have got any information on it, then please just comment, start a conversation, let us know. Contact us on Instagram or send us a comment through YouTube or wherever. We're on Facebook, we're on most socials, so get in touch with us regarding that. But there's like 1/3 of women who visited a GP were not made aware of HRT.
Wow. And I wonder if that's because it's an expensive drug. Is it expensive, or is it not as effective as we think it is?
Side effects.
Side effects, yeah.
What are the side effects from it? Do you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Another big one here, and I mean, over in the UK, and all around the world, these people who study medicine and everything else, and what an absolutely tremendous job they're doing, especially in this pandemic. Do you know? Massive, hats off to them, and thank you from the bottom of my heart. But then also we've got to think about, in this country, in the UK, you go to your GP for everything.
Everything, yeah.
And then your GP needs to know about everything to then be able to direct you. If not, it stops there with them. And one of these stats here is women are being incorrectly diagnosed as depressed and given antidepressants.
And so I'm currently in a grief recovery workshop. I've decided to deal with some of my losses that I've experienced through life. So yeah, I'm currently cracking open Pandora's box, so that's exciting. But one of the things that I was reading there's a book that goes along with it, and it was talking about how a lot of people who experience grief are often given a pharmacological not cure, but that's what's offered. And it's like, well, actually the response that they're going through is perfectly natural. And in some cases, that having that kind of mood altering medication could be more harmful. And so is that just a fear? Is it a fear that people don't want to deal with those emotions?
I mean, don't get me wrong,
there's a place for
medicine. Yeah, there's medications, and there's different types of drugs and everything in this world that help an awful lot of people out there. But then there's an awful lot of people that can put the trust into like the health system, and do you know, I've always been a very strong character, and I don't know whether you remember, Katie, there was a lot of years ago, and I'd just come out of a relationship, and I went to the doctors because I needed a little bit of time off work just to sort stuff out.
Start your head out, yeah.
Yeah, and I went to the doctors, and it's that, for anybody that knows me out there, is completely out of character for me to want time off work for something like that, but I needed it. And it was more to sort out, not me mentally, but physically sort things out.
Yeah.
So my full focus is on my work when I'm in work, not trying to think, I've got this to do, I've got this to do, I've got this, I need to sort this out, I need to sort this out. It wasn't a great breakup, so that's why I really needed this space. So I went to the
great
doctors.
Breakup.
and that was what the doctor said.
No more monkeys bouncing on the bed. Sorry, carry on.
They said about me being depressed. So I'll write you here's a prescription for some antidepressants.
Huh.
And I said, I'm not depressed. And I'm not depressed at all. I said, I'm not even like feeling low. I'm stressed.
Yeah.
As in, I've got a lot on my plate to try and organise. And I just need a way just to get a little break from work with a doctor's note so I can just get myself sorted out. Well, I really think that you should take these antidepressants. Take the prescription because you may change your mind. And I was like, and I remember leaving with this prescription in my hand, thinking, I stood up for myself there. And, and I truly, truly believe that I was not depressed. Luckily for me, I don't, my whole being isn't kind of wired that way. I can sometimes go into a little bit of a lull, but I've never felt that sort of low, or do you know what I mean? Where I've never experienced that. I'm always the glass is half full type of person. Okay. So for me, and I was like, I'm not depressed. I don't in any way, shape or form feel like that. I know exactly how I feel. Yeah. So I remember just going out and just ripping it up and throwing it away. So that's me. That's my experience. And I know that if I went to a doctor's and said, listen, I feel this, 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 and this, and this, oh, you're depressed, write your note on your way. I'd be like, no, I'm not depressed. But I know that I'm not feeling right in my body. Do you know what I mean? But how many women, well, here, being correctly diagnosed as depressed, could go in there because what the hell's going on? I don't know.
And it might make sense. And it might make sense as soon as the GP says, well, it sounds a lot like depression, because it probably does. Because there's a lot of illnesses out there that their signs and symptoms cross over. It is a difficult job to try and diagnose someone.
That's the issue. It's difficult to diagnose because there's
and especially difficult to diagnose someone in like a 5-minute appointment. So, and it's amazing, really. The amount of, because it absolutely can be wonderful. Like antidepressants are absolute lifesavers for so many people. I know I have a few friends who probably would struggle to function without them. But I often worry that some of the underlying issues aren't being dealt with in some cases. Obviously,
I mean, where you are over in Canada, therapy is it very much like America, and it's just.
To be honest, I've not really figured it out, because as well as like we have similar to the States in the sense that we have like a federal system, and then each province have their own rules and regulations. And so, for example, here in Alberta at present, certain therapies aren't regulated. So anyone could be a counsellor. But So, for example, I'm training to be a massage therapist, and it's an unregulated profession at present. So anyone could just set up shop and be a massage therapist, and fine, whatever. You might have done a weekend course in something, and you can perform certain aspects of the job. The big difference comes when it comes to the insurance companies. So because even though there is a like a healthcare, like a free healthcare system, there are certain aspects of healthcare, like going for counselling and things like that, that might not necessarily be covered on the regular healthcare, but you get benefits from your employer or you purchase your own benefits. And so when it's unregulated, it kind of falls to the insurance providers and the governing body to provide that person with a number because they have met a certain standard of education. And so if I go into, I want to see a psychologist, I could go to them and claim that back on my benefits, if that makes sense. So that's the only,
It's not a like therapy is not a big thing over in the UK. Do you know, it's becoming a little bit more available, but it's not something that you hear of an awful lot.
And the waiting lists are huge. And obviously I was a therapist when I was in the UK. I worked in primary care mental health, and quite often, because the therapy that I was trained in, so person-centered, if a doctor is sending someone for counselling, because the way that the healthcare system is set up is it's kind of like, you go in, oh, I've broken my arm. Okay, so you go and see this person, they're going to fix it. You'll have to do some stuff for a while. Then you go to physio, and all of those exercises is going to make you better. So it's kind of like National Health Service. You go in, I have a problem. This is how you're going to fix it. Well, it doesn't quite work the same with mental health. And so often I would get patients who were kind of expecting to be fixed, and just kind of go back on my little alone kind of musings, is that you have to come to that by yourself. You have to be willing to make some changes, to do some work. Otherwise it's not going to help. And so that was one of the difficulties I found as a therapist working in a healthcare setting. I imagine in the States it's a bit different, because you have to kind of seek it out yourself. And again, it is expensive, so it doesn't mean it doesn't make it accessible to everyone, which is a shame. Because really that shouldn't be as much of a barrier. If you're ready and willing to do some work on yourself, then money shouldn't be the issue, but it is.
I know, it's sad, isn't it?
It was a bit of a tangent I went off on there. I apologize.
I know. Another one, going back to our menopause, was about. Sorry, you all keep seeing the top of my head because
that's all right.
I'm reading from the information that I found. Was about in the UK, obviously, because this is where all the information's come from. There are only 29 NHS menopause clinics. And you've got waiting times for appointments for like up to 6 months, which in the UK, waiting up to 6 months for an appointment, it's kind of a bit standard just now, especially in this global pandemic. I mean, this I'm presuming was this study would have been out with the global pandemic. So, and then again, it's talking about at work here as well. 72% of women in work say they feel unsupported. Now, I don't really know where that's coming from, what angle that's coming from. But it's just that tends to come up quite a lot, I think, with anybody that I've spoken to. I mean, obviously being a yoga teacher, and in that sort of part of my world, and I see lots of menopause workshops, menopause classes, menopause groups, but that's all to do connected with yoga. Do you know, and I feel that these yoga teachers are trying to branch out to make it available. So, you know, you don't have to be, it's not a yoga class. I'm opening my doors for anybody to come and visit, and, you know,
because that sense of community is so important. And it's kind of, again, back to my little like musings on being alone, is that I'm actually okay with the realization that I am a unique person. And so, for example, one of the losses I've decided to deal with is dad. Like, I actually harbor a lot of anger and resentment still, that I've just conveniently pushed further and further down over the years, and it does seep out at times. And so I've decided to deal with that. But I had to be ready. And even though we share the same dad, our relationship with him is two completely different relationships. And so, honestly, I don't understand what your reaction to that loss was. And I probably will never truly understand it. And the same vice versa. So I'm kind of okay. And I feel a little bit empowered that it's on me to figure this out. Like, I know what's going on. I just have to access the feelings and the information. But having a community there to support you, and knowing that actually we will share a lot of similarities intellectually, that support helps me feel safe enough to access the emotion.
Definitely. I think that's why, you know, support groups are so successful.
Yeah.
And I think it's about letting women know that to go to a support group for menopause is completely acceptable. Do you know, it doesn't mean that you're like way off hippie, or like I want to be like
gonna go dancing in the woods, but naked.
You know, not all yoga teachers are like that. You know, and to be fair, the majority of yoga teachers that I come across in my life come from with all the best heartfelt intentions. So, you know, and that willingness to provide community, provide group. And it kind of is a therapy without calling it a therapy, because you're asking people to go inwards. You're asking people to connect with themselves, mind, body, breath, you know, the basics of yoga. You're asking them to do that. But in a menopausal support group, you know, it doesn't mean we're going to, I don't know, and maybe it's something that I might venture within my business. I might offer that as a support group. You know, it could be online. You don't need a yoga mat. You just need a chair and a brew.
And that's so back in my therapist days, you know, I ran a lot of grief support groups. And one of the things that I found the most valuable, and so it kind of ties into some of the statistics that you'd read about how a lot of women feel like they're going mad, is that once you felt safe enough in that group, you would share something, and to you probably thought that it was mad. You probably thought this was a strange thing that I'm doing. People are going to think I'm weird. So that's the scary part of being alone in our experience, is that we judge ourselves. We think it's weird. And then when we feel safe enough to share it, all of a sudden 2, 3 more people go, oh, I do that too.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm not as weird as I thought I was.
Yeah.
And so it shifts something else into the right spot in our own self.
Mm.
And so we
And
get to deal with one more thing.
It's sharing.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Sharing's caring.
It is, and it really is, even though, like, it is. I mean, I sing a Sharing's Caring song with the kids, and it really is.
Sing it.
No, it's so.
Just so you know, before we started this podcast today, we were trying to think about what to discuss. And we kind of had a bit of a chat about the statistics that were being found. And I was suggesting maybe, we could talk about periods or whatever. And Laura said, but I don't know what's going to fill the hole. And I offered the solution of a tampon.
Because she didn't let me finish saying the whole of the half an hour or 40 minutes podcast time that we time to time that we stay around. Which then landed in a few like laughter tears coming down.
Yeah.
But yes. But no, do you know, the whole menopause thing, am I too early just now? I don't know. Am I starting on that journey just now? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that people should start discussing these things in the 30s.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Like, everyone just talk about it. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. It's the whole death and taxes. There's certain things in life that we know are gonna happen. And for women, it's another rite of passage. We kind of have to go through this extra aspect of life. And if we don't know what's on the horizon, then of course it's going to be terrifying when we get there. Yeah. Of course it's going to be confusing because we don't know what to expect. And because we're not prepared.
Supporting your friends.
Yeah.
And supporting the other beautiful female people in the world. You could be a group of friends all the same age and you could all go through the menopause at different stages of your lives, but it doesn't mean you're not going to be friends. But those people who then go through it later on in life will have the experiences from those that went through it earlier on. But talk about it, discuss it, and that's obviously leads us on to then, because we've invited the beautiful Janine on next week. Hopefully
we can get some answers from her. Yeah, some insight from her perspective, like what her experience was like. And if anyone else wants to share their experiences, or even if you've got any questions, please let us know and we can try and wedge those in if we can.
Get in touch.
Yeah, and we were concerned that we weren't going to fill half an hour, and here we are almost at 50 minutes. So it's a long podcast today. Thanks for sticking with us, folks.
Yeah, thanks very much. So we'll just leave on a see you later.
Yeah.
See you, love you, bye.
See ya, love ya, bye.
See you, love you, bye. Mwah.